Welcome, people. Welcome, everybody. First of all, thank you to the listeners around the world, from Poland to South America, Chile, Mexico, to United States. I got people in the Philippines, Morocco. Thank you so much for listening to me. The new ones, please, if you don't mind to subscribe. I'm in Spotify, Apple, YouTube. I appreciate it so I can continue doing this work. Um, and yeah, just subscribe and link whatever somewhere on the screen that show up sometimes. I don't know. I'm not an IT guy. But today I got a really special guest. Um, Literally I went from like a fire chief talk to somebody expert on a subject that is actually interesting for me and actually affects your mental health. If you don't have a good relationship with your couple, with your partner, whoever it is, whatever it is, life could be rough. Life could be difficult sometimes. And Cassandra, if you don't mind to introduce yourself, and thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. My
You're
name is
welcome.
Cassandra Hope. I'm a certified sexologist and I specialize in Tantra and Kink. And so basically, I help couples and singles get more connected to who they authentically are. We usually start with who they are in the bedroom intimately. And often, almost every time, we find that that branches out into their everyday life. So, although
Oh,
I specialize in Tantra and Kink, it's kind of like a full life coaching that I end up doing, but really
oh,
helping people expand their potential in those areas. I know a lot of us, like, we get into relationships and after 4 to 7 years, we just want to spice things up a little bit or get that spark back in. And that's where I often get couples who will come to see me for bringing some kink into their life. Maybe they're wanting to venture out into alternative lifestyles like swinging, polyamory, and it encompasses all of that. I mean, not that polyamory is a kink; it's more a lifestyle choice, but it kind of the work that I do encompasses everything that you branch off into in the sexual realm. So lots of fun stuff.
oh! I bet. I bet. Interesting people a lot.
Yeah.
So for what I understood, you the bridge right between like the sex life and the normal life. Because you
Mhm.
said like, hey, people go to you just to get spice it up, and suddenly you became like kind of like life coach, which is not. I learned that somebody else on the podcast prior to you, Andrea. Shout out to her. She told me that's different, but sometimes you guys have to be that extra life coach besides the sexologist part, besides the intimate section, just because it's part of who we are as a humans, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because if somebody's showing up into my space and, I think what kind of bridged us together when we were talking before the podcast was the fact that I have a lot of first responders, a lot of firemen, police officers. One of my really great clients is a 911 operator. And, at first they'll come to me with, oh, I'm having premature ejaculation issues or
Yeah.
erectile dysfunction or something like that is showing up in their sex life. And we typically go into, well, where is this coming from? And that's
Um,
where it links into a broader area in their life beyond sex, because what's showing up in our sex is often connected to something that is completely non-sexual, completely no part yet that you would think, no part
yeah.
of your sex life. For instance, this 911 operator in particular, his issues were stemming back to a fellow firefighter who had passed away suddenly, and he hadn't really grieved
Oh.
that person. And grieving someone really does connect deeply to our sex. So that's why I think that when it comes to anyone who works in the realm of sexuality, is you can't help but branch off into those other areas, because what's showing up in your sex, I guarantee you it's showing up at work, it's showing up in your relationships, it's showing up in the way that your creativity is coming forth, the way that you're able to let love in, the way that you're being authentic and truthful with what you want out of life. So that's why it
Wow.
branches off. So I don't necessarily go into those realms too deep, but often what we do in sessions bleeds out into everyday life, especially for those who have high stress jobs.
So why is that you have so many first responders from veterans to police to firemen? Why is that? Instead of like, I'm not saying normal people, but it's something that separate us. I'm including the first responder
Mhm.
from the normal citizen, because we get exposed to a lot of things way too fast or way too early that people will never ever experience in their life.
Yeah,
So,
the work that first responders do, not just first responders, but like military personnel,
yeah.
anyone who's in the realm of showing up during someone's traumatic moments or being in a traumatic moment. If your job entails that at all, stress is going to be a huge factor for interrupting your sex life and thinking that maybe there's something wrong with you, especially if it's a man in his mid 30s, early 40s, having sexual issues show up for him that he wouldn't expect to have until much, much, much later in life. Often men attribute sexual issues to aging or lower testosterone. But those are just two of hundreds of reasons why sexual issues may show up. But it's not just the sexual issues that people come to me for. Their curiosity, to have some sort of excitement, and a lot of times that curiosity for something exciting is more of the desire to have a situation where you can maybe get outside of yourself for a little bit. They want the
Oh,
world to just wash away for a little bit. And I like to get down to, okay, well, what world is it that you're trying to wash away? What is it about your everyday life that you want to have this escape from? I mean, we all need a little bit of a break from work, from
yeah.
stresses.
Yep.
But sometimes it's more than just needing that little bit of a break or needing a vacation. Sometimes we're in this fight or flight, which flight is running away from. And the way we run away from issues that are inside of us as modern adults, that we can't run away from our bills, we can't run away from our work, we can't run away from our
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah, yeah.
we
I
can't
agree.
run away from
100%.
those things, so we mentally run away. And this is one of those areas where those who are mentally running away may show up in my space, and we step in and we start identifying, okay, well, what is it that you're running away from? And for some people, especially dealing with military personnel, police officers, they have not only witnessed but sometimes been a part of some horrific moments in people's lives, sometimes
Yeah.
in their own life, especially being in the military. And it's a PTSD that they treat that obviously with their therapists, their doctors and all, but sometimes they need just a place to go to where they can let all of it out and just kind of have that diarrhea of the mouth. And you have that
Yeah, yeah.
that
No, no,
one
I agree.
friend that you show up
I
in their
agree.
space, and just for some reason you're just like, this is happening and that's happening and this is happening and that's happening and I don't know why and I just want to cry. And I get to
Yeah.
be that person for them. And through that kind of therapy, they get to shed a lot of those layers that are in the way and are actually the reason for their sexual issues to begin with. So it's kind of it's a tricky sort of coaching that I do, because a lot of it
It
comes
is.
from my ability to really relate on a lot of different sexual avenues. I was raised in a Christian cult. I was
Oh.
homeschooled and kept away from society up until I got married at 16. It was an abusive marriage that I had 3 children out of, became a single mom at 20. And meanwhile, I had endured molestation, sodomy, and rape, and then got into the strip club and got into prostitution. And so I've been in
Oh
this
God.
this big like tornado of sexual dysfunction. and found myself in a space in life at the age of 34 where I was nearly dying of alcoholism. I was drinking 24/7. I couldn't live with myself. I couldn't be alone with my own thoughts. I was constantly drowning them in alcohol. I'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and need a shot of vodka to go back to sleep. I even had it placed in the freezer at this certain angle, so that way I just had to lift it, unscrew the cap, pour it down into my mouth, and screw the cap back on. Like I couldn't be
Oh
hassled to
yeah, you
even
were the
pour it
full
into a
addict.
glass.
You got the whole addiction. Yeah, you're 100%
I
in.
Yes. When you're doing that, when you're waking up in the middle of the night, yeah, you got a little bit of a physical addiction to the
Yeah.
alcohol. So, it did get to a really horrific place in my life. I attempted to take my own life at one point, and it was really my children that kept me from seeing it through. Um, it's so there's a lot of my own stuff, my own healing, that I bring into the work that I do, because even though, I got sober through AA, I went to a therapist for a lot of the trauma that I had gone through. But even with that, I found that my sex life was just, I didn't know how to connect again with a man. I'd had a lot of good experiences with men over those years, but a lot of bad ones. And I was shut down so much sexually. Even after 2 years of sobriety, I just couldn't feel anymore.
Wow.
And that's when I came across Tantra. And with the tantric practices that I had learned, it was the first time that I was able to really drop in and feel my body and be able to feel my sexual organs, or my coochie, whatever you want to call it on here,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
my yoni.
Whatever you're gonna call it. Yeah.
I didn't even know that I had so much pain inside of there until I did this workshop. It was an 8-day, not a workshop, it was a training, an 8-day training, and a woman was working on me, down on my yoni, and she's doing the pressure points and all of this stuff, and I'm like, this hurts. Like, why are you doing this? It hurts. And like that's just
Wow.
happening in my head. And then I was like, okay, that hurts a little bit. And when I got to witness other women and the way they were being touched and what brought them pleasure, it dawned on me that this wasn't a normal pain that I was feeling inside of there. It was like a numbness and pain mixed together. I don't know if you can fathom how that feels, but it's like I either wouldn't feel
Yeah.
anything or I wouldn't feel good. And I learned how to stay inside of it. When I say stay inside of it, I mean allow
Yeah.
myself to
Focus.
recognize the pain, to not run from it, but just to sit there, breathe through it, let myself feel it, and actually let the emotional response happen. And that's when I realized that after all those years of being raised in a cult, especially as a woman, you have no ability
Oh my,
to talk or speak. You're
yeah.
no expression. You're not. If you got mad, you're crazy.
My
If
God.
you're sad, you're probably on that time of the month. There's always this like brush off and belittling of emotions when you're in that. And then to numb it all of those years, I just had never really cried or raged or any of that. And I finally did it. And afterwards, it was like instantaneous. After I just was like, ah, and I'm screaming and crying and banging the ground. And all of a sudden, all of this blood flow, it felt like this. It felt like blood just flowed straight into my vagina and went, oh, we're awake now. And I'm like, okay,
Wow.
I am so sold.
Okay. This is my path. This is what I'm doing. I'll run
Yes.
with it.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And So yeah, so that's where, everything that I teach, everything that I do is from my own experience. I mean, obviously I haven't experienced living the life with a penis. So we're working with
Yeah,
men
no,
a little
yeah.
different. But I mean, everything it branches off from my own personal experiences, my own personal healing, and the things that really worked for me. And I pride myself on, being raised with two brothers, being that tomboy, always being around men. I pride myself on being able to explain things in an easy way to understand. So I like to explain all of the healing processes, all the things that they're able to do in really simple, easy terms, because that's how I like it delivered to me too. It's like,
No,
don't
it's true.
complicate it.
I when I teach stuff, I said I like the KISS principle. KISS, keep it simple,
Keep
stupid.
it simple, stupid. Yes.
That's what I
I
do.
learned that
I
one in
mean,
AA because you got to keep it simple.
right? Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Wow, you
Hmm.
went through a lot. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. It
just
was,
to that, and
I didn't
it's
remember it all at once, which is great. I was in brownout. So,
yeah,
fortunately, it
yeah.
all slowly like seeped in and I got to process each one of them individually. One of the great things about learning detachment as part of your coping skills and alcoholism as another one is that it's like this, it just like puts it all on hold for a little bit. But,
Yeah.
after my sexuality opened up, that's when I started opening more up into kink too, because I had always wanted to be a dominatrix. I remember being 20 years old on the stage at Cheetah Strip Club here that's local in West Palm Beach, Florida. And it's where I first stripped. I was 20 years old, scared to death. I mean, I came from a freaking church, a Christian church,
I
being
can't
married
even
to the most
imagine.
controlling man in the world. Like I had to get my outfits approved through this man. And having three children, and I jumped right into a strip club. I was so naive. But it was like everything I wanted as an experience is everything bad, everything I was told I wasn't supposed to do. So there was that awesome part to it. But then there's also a lot of sexual assault that happens in there. I mean, it's just like, I don't want to say it's par for the course because there's no situation where sexual assault could be written off that easily. Like, oh well, what do you expect? You're working in a strip club. But back in the '90s, working in the strip club, we
Oh my
barely even
god.
knew what emotional trauma was. So then it's like that's just what happened. And but one of the great things was so I'm 20 years old and I'm on stage and they were like about to go on stage and they said, Cassandra, we want to do a girl on girl show, but it was BDSM night and this was my first time dressing up in BDSM and I had one of the girls there. She let me put a collar on her and a leash, and so I
Oh my
guided
god.
her around and she had to like kneel next to me if I was sitting at a table talking to a customer, and I smoked back then. And so she had to hold my ashtray up with her hand while she's kneeled next to me. Like I just stepped right into that role and was
Oh
like,
yeah, you
I
got
got
it.
this. I've
Yeah,
had
you
men
would.
tell me what to do for years. I can definitely do this. And so then they ask us to do a girl on girl show on the stage. And so I'm like, yeah, sure. So I get up on the stage and we're starting to get into it and everything. And I just go into this zone. I'm dominating her and seducing her at the same time. And I remember one of the bartenders, Kelly, she was behind the bar, and the stage that we did it on, it's like this, the bar was a big square and the
Hmm.
stage was in the center of that bar. So the bartenders would walk around the stage, then there was the bar, then there was the customers outside of that. And so they would have to hand their tips to the bartender, and they're handing their tips to the bartender. And Kelly goes to hand me a tip. And I look in her eyes. I like glance up at her, and she's like, oh my God, like you have this look in your eyes. And I'm like, I got into like this Dom space for the very first time on a strip club stage at 20 years old. And it was
Oh
awesome.
yeah, you were into your element. You found your element right there.
Yeah, I did. I did. And I remembered that when I was then, now I'm 37 years old and my sexuality and my sexual libido is opening up. And I'm like, oh, I want to step back into that space. And that's when I actually found from contacts that I still had from being in the lifestyle for all those
Yeah, yeah.
years. I was in many relationships after that were dominant, submissive relationships and would play in those realms. And so I reached out to a couple that had like 30 years each. being in the lifestyle, and they mentored me for a year, and through that, I learned how to be able to take all of the fascinating, fun, sexy parts of kink and BDSM and take the spiritual, ritualistic, deeply connected practices of Tantra and be able to blend those together to create this ceremonious experience for people to where they can literally shut their brains off for a while and just be, I mean, you can't actually shut your brain off, but their brain goes nice and dull. They're super focused on what's happening that it feels like the brain is just shut down, and they can actually hold a space of utter and complete relaxation. And we don't really talk enough about how important deep relaxation is, because what happens inside the body when we're in a deeply relaxed state, such as in meditation or when you're getting a
Yeah.
nice massage or something like that, when you're really able to drop in and let go for a little while, when you come back to this conscious thinking, um, you're able to have so much more clarity. And so when we repeat that on a continuous basis, we start to gain our own insights and clarity into what it is that we need to best suit ourselves and our lives and our healing and our journey. So that's why, like, I don't really do the life coaching, but I definitely open up the
You,
corridors for people to walk
y-
down that hallway.
yes, you did, because like you said, it's all connected. It's all connected somehow, some way, regardless what lifestyle you want to pick or what is your kink in your case. It's all connected. It's all help to build a good foundation to be better, to avoid that, to get to that, suicidal thoughts, that depressing, and that everything. To me, everything works.
Mhm.
Whatever things you can do to improve yourself, I'm all for it. Could be like sex stuff, could be financial stuff, could be working out. I don't care. That's why I talk to everybody, everyone, because to me, mental health is a big umbrella, and it's a lot of things, not just the
Mhm.
psychiatric, psychology guy, or the counselor. That so many things, and you got
It is.
such an interesting life. Is amazing.
Yeah,
Everything you went
I
through
love my
is.
story now. I didn't then, but I love it
Oh, I
now.
bet you did not at all. It's coming from like how is that called? I'm just thinking like,
The
what was
Jehovah's
it? Where was
Witnesses.
really?
Yes,
Wow,
Jehovah's Witnesses. And some people have experiences with Jehovah's Witness religion that's just like, oh, yeah, they're really weird or they're really strict, but I don't know, they weren't that bad. When you're born into it and you are third generation of your family that is Jehovah's Witness, and then there's this fellowshipping that happens, it turns your life completely around, and you see where um, if you decide to go against what they say, it's like, phew, you're totally blacklisted, you're gone, your family's gone, everybody's gone from your
wow.
life. Yeah,
Like
it's pretty abrupt. But
it is like Scientology, kind of the same style.
mhm.
Because I seen the YouTube stuff. I mean, the documentaries about once you get done, you out. You like you by
You,
yourself done.
yeah, you can't talk to people anymore. You can't none of that stuff. But yeah, it's been a lot of like relearning. One of the things that I absolutely love is, the fact that humans are the apex species. We are the, top of the food chain because of our ability to adapt
Yeah,
and to create. And when we're able to adapt and create, even seemingly creating out of nothing, that's what puts us forward and what has put us forward. And my life, one of the biggest blessings that it did give me is my ability to adapt. That has been paramount in my survival as a single mom when my kids were younger. And the ability to have different perspectives and know that something different can happen, because that's, when I was at my darkest point, it was 2 days before I got sober. I was sitting in my apartment. At this point, my children had already decided that they didn't want to live with my alcoholism anymore, and they had gone to live with their father. And they were in their mid-teens at this point.
Okay.
And so, I was like, you know what? I definitely have some stuff going on. It's I tried getting sober a couple of times, and this time in particular, I was on my fourth relapse, and I was sitting in my apartment drunk, and it was 8 a.m. I had woken up at 6 a.m. and had gone to the gas station on the corner. I had to walk there because my vision was going like this. When
Blur.
when you've consumed so much alcohol and you're so
Yeah.
physically addicted, your eyes do this rapid pattern. And so I
Yeah.
couldn't see, and I had no depth perception, so I couldn't drive. So I walked to the gas station to get liquor at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sitting there. Um, five I think it was 5 beers. Was I drinking beer? Yeah, beer. That was the way of just trying to wean off of it. Beer instead of liquor. Um, but I'm sitting there and I was just like, what the fuck good am I to my kids? I'm disappointing them over and over again. They don't trust me anymore because I've relapsed 4 times now.
Yeah.
That feeling of utter despair and feeling like the world is just better off without you bothering people in it, without you showing up, disappointing your kids day in and day out every single time. I really did. I couldn't understand how people got and stayed sober. Like, well, I got how they got sober because that I did 4 times. So I was like, okay, I
Yeah.
understand how you get sober. How the frick did people actually stay sober? Because there's always this little trickery in the back of your mind that says, and it does it to me still, it'll pop up a couple times a year that goes, or do you really have a problem? I mean, you've been sober this long. It's going to be 10 years in July. You've been sober this long. Do
Oh
you
my
really
God.
have a problem? And instantly, and I'm so grateful for my sponsor who had taught me this. She was like, that's your alcoholism speaking. That's your alcoholism trying to wean you back in. Cunning and powerful are two of the words that describe alcoholism. And the cunning part, that's where it plays little mind tricks on you and goes, are you really an alcoholic? Look at you. You've been sober for 10 years. I bet if you had a drink, it probably wouldn't even faze you. You've done all of this healing. You've done all of this work. I'm pretty sure that you'd know if you have a problem creeping up on you. And I'm like, wow, my alcoholism still tries to lure me back in with
Still.
that. But yeah, so back to when I was, just before I got sober, that's when I had felt just the powerlessness, the despair, the complete utter uselessness as a mother. And I think that just hit so freaking hard. And I went into my bathroom and I laid out the items that I wanted to use. And as I'm planning this, I'm trying to plan it so my children don't find me first. And that's what brought them into the picture of
Hmm.
going to my funeral and having to say goodbye and having to explain why their mother died when they were teenagers and having to miss their graduations, miss
Yeah.
their possible weddings, miss meeting any possible grandchildren. And my father happened to come by at that time. And when he knocked on the door, I answered, and he knew just from the look on my face would just blow up and get puffy. You can tell when I drink. And he came in and I was just like, Dad, I can't do this. I don't know what to do. And it was the next day that I got myself into, knock on wood, God willing, my last
Yeah.
treatment center. And I'd love to say it's all peaches and roses after that. It's definitely not. Sobriety, it doesn't make your problems go away, but at least you don't wake up with a hangover after dealing with them. At
Yes.
least you're not like, crashing your car and adding to the stress. At least you can find your wallet and didn't spend $300 on who knows what the night before, So like you still have the
Yeah.
crap. It just doesn't stink as bad.
Yeah. You remember what happened the day or the night before, at least.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty
that
sure.
I think that was the my first time going out to a party. And the next morning waking up, and I swear I woke up as if I had a hangover. Like I felt groggy. I'm like, where's my car? I'm checking my body for bruises to see if I fell anywhere.
Wow.
I'm checking my purse and I'm like, I've been sober for almost 2 years and I'm still doing this. It sticks with you. It
Oh, I bet
definitely does.
that's a lifetime of keep and I'm proud for you. I'm really happy for you. I'm really proud that you're going through this and you keep going. That's
And I
awesome.
use that story because I think that a lot of first responders find a coping mechanism, and
Yes.
oftentimes they find a coping mechanism that doesn't work very well for them. And alcohol is one, drugs, it could be sex, it could be shopping, it could be gambling, it could be anything that you're doing and you don't like the way you're doing it. Um, that we often use so many things as coping mechanisms. It can be anything. And so I like to share my story so that way people know that, yeah, shit happens to us. We go down the wrong path sometimes, but we can make a change. We can take a different route at any given time. And just
Yeah.
because we fail, it doesn't mean we're a failure. I've failed so many times at getting sober. I failed so many times at being a mother. I've failed at businesses. I've failed at so many things, but it's never too late. And there's never well, you've done it this many times. You can't do it anymore. We can always keep trying again. So I try to
Yeah.
give a little bit of hope because that's what comes up a lot when I am talking to those that are on the front lines and those that are dealing with the tragedies of society, is they need a way to have an outlet and a way to let that stuff move through them. And
Yeah.
sometimes therapy doesn't work. Therapy is great, but therapy is limited to talking. And although that can help immensely and does help immensely, sometimes we need a little bit more. We need somebody who's willing to hold us. We need somebody who's willing to encourage our tears and say, it's okay, I'll cry right here with you. And it's often found a little bit better when it's not in a clinical setting
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
therapist that's typing away on the keyboard as you're talking, as if you're giving like a deposition or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need something a little more connected and genuine, and that's what I feel like the whole world needs from all of us. I mean,
Just
we've
human
got so much to
connection.
give. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Life is too short to spending stupid stuff. We don't have a prequel sequel. So we only have one
No.
time. That's it. That's it.
Yep. Yep.
Um.
Make it the
Yeah.
best.
Talking about this subject. Recently. Well, when this episode will air, it will be probably a couple weeks, almost a month. But the on April this week of April 15, a fireman committed suicide. I don't know if you saw the news at
No.
Orlando FD.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's why when you start talking about this, it kind of hit me because I just came from a meeting, from a peer support team meeting, and we're talking about it and how to prevent that to happen to us.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate that I work in a place that have enough resources to help the auto fire department and bring that help to them.
Hmm.
And yeah, so when you're talking about suicide, and I'm like, wow, this is it hit a little bit stronger today, just because it just happened on this week.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
yeah,
see that in the news. I actively try not to watch too much news, but that is awful. And I hate it every
yeah,
time I hear something like that because, it's like a client that I had a couple days ago. He's a Marine, fought in the Iraq War. And he said, I've got some of my buddies that I can talk to, but the problem is that we'll be talking, and the conversation will get to that point where we're really about to feel and talk about some deep stuff. And as soon as it gets to that point, the guys will just go, don't turn into a pussy on me, and just joke about
yeah,
it. A little laughter to cut the staleness of the air or the stiffness of the air. And
Yeah.
what men aren't realizing, which I think that a lot of men can learn from women in this respect, and I feel like the men and women are constantly learning from each other if we allow it, and it's beautiful when we
Yeah.
do.
If you allow it, that's a big one.
Yeah, if you allow it, if you remove any kind of sexism that might exist inside of you. But when men are talking with each other, they don't necessarily know how to handle when their buddy, their friend, starts to break down and get a little emotional,
It's
because
true.
men tend to want to go into fixing it. And you can't fix something that got broken 10 years ago and is no longer around. You can't put that face back together. There's no fixing it. And I think that's why men tend to veer away from the conversations when they start getting too heavy, because they don't know how to handle them from that point forward. And I don't want to put this on all men. I'm married to a man who is more than willing to step into those deep conversations and hold space in them. So again, I hate to be like those typical phrases, but it's a not all men. It's just a
Yeah.
problem that tends to arrive with men, and especially men and women, when it comes to jobs where you need to be tough, like police officers, like
Yes.
the military. You do need to be tough, and we need their strength, and we need their resilience, and we need that tenacity. We need all of those things from them to keep our society safe and running the way that it does. But God, those people, they need a place that they can go to where they don't have to be that anymore. And we would like to think that happens at home, that they go home to their husband or their wife, and that is their outlet. But what really happens when most of us go home, especially if we have families, we go home to stress. And it might be tiny
Yeah.
stress, like you didn't take the garbage out, or the house is a mess, or the kids are screaming.
Yeah.
Those are like the beautiful stresses of life. But when it comes to those types of jobs, that kind of work, when you pile those little droplets of the beautiful stress, it does not look like beautiful stress anymore. It's like daggers to the heart. It's like, you know, it, it's like somebody taking a pan across your head. And I say this, I
Yeah.
have never been a first responder, but I was definitely high strung and high stress while I was raising my children. And I know that them simply saying, Mom, someone was mean to me at school, like that's, oh my God, it's too much. You're just overwhelmed constantly in your mind and in your body. And I feel like we need those spaces to go. So when we do have that camaraderie with our fellow brothers and sisters that are in the similar lines of work, them learning how to just simply let someone feel. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to have some antidote of great advice to give them, but just simply looking them in the eyes and saying, "It's okay. I'm here with you now. Cry as long as you need to. I'm just going to hold you and be with you right now while you go through this." That's it. That's
Yeah.
all that can save. That's all we need to really save a lot of these lives from, like what just happened that you said in Orlando. Not to say that
Yeah.
it can be prevented with everyone for that. Some need many other things, but why not do that one little step of just learning how to be in front of someone and hold that space for them while they're going through an uncomfortable emotion? Because naturally, we're going to resonate with them. We're going to empathize
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah.
And so we're going to feel it too. And being okay with us feeling a little bit of that too in that process can be immensely helpful. I mean, that's why I'm sober today and why I'm alive today, is because someone was able to sit with me when I was at my ugliest and most raw. That's what saved my life. So I couldn't imagine it not saving others.
Yeah. No, hey, you're doing a beautiful work. Stuff that you're doing are great. It's helping first responders, like from military to police to firemen to medics to nurses. I mean, you name it,
Mm-hmm.
you have, especially after COVID. A lot of calls that I had after COVID were behavioral. A lot of the calls during COVID and after, at least for a
Wow.
solid 4 or 5 months. Most of my calls were behavioral, anxiety, depression, and nonstop, like at least 2 or 3 a day. And I work in
Wow.
a place that is unique out of Central Florida, so I wasn't expecting that many. But people are broken, and you never know because you put like a facade, you put like a mask, and keep
Hmm.
going and keep going, keep going, and yeah, it's rough sometimes. It's true. We need a space to just to relieve. We don't have to go to like. I mean, everybody should have a counselor. Everybody should have a psychiatric or somebody to talk to once in a while. It won't hurt. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and a lot of times I saw this TikTok the other day, and it's amazing how this rang true only days later. So on the TikTok, the guy's talking about how one of his friends was going through some seriously heavy stuff and nearly committed suicide. Like this, it was really heavy. And the guy was, when he talked to him later, he's like, "Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you reach out?" And he's like, "Well, I did. I texted you a couple of times and said, hey, you want to go have some beers? Or hey, you want to go to dinner?" And he's like, "But those are the texts you normally send me. I just happened to be busy and couldn't see you.
yeah,
Why didn't you tell me you were going through this?" And the truth is that when people are at their lowest, when they're feeling the most helpless, the most powerless in their life, saying, "Hey, how are you?" might be them reaching out for help. But how are we to know that? And this guy came up with a great thing because research has had shown that um, it only takes 8 minutes to bring someone from a space of withdrawal and depression and bring them. And now I'm obviously not for clinical depression that's consistent
yeah,
with people, or but
yeah,
for
yeah,
your temporary depression, it only takes 8 minutes of conversation with someone that you love and trust to move you out of that space. And so now they have a code called 8 minutes. And
Oh
so they'll
wow.
text each other, "Hey, do you have 8 minutes?" And that means I really need to shift my thinking right now. Some shit's happening. I just really need you in my life right now. And it's a very simple way of doing it. 2 days later, I sent this to my daughters because they will call me 3 times while I'm at work in a row. That normally means it's an emergency. No, for them, it's like, "Hey, Ma, how do you do this?" I'm like, "No, we have to define this." So I sent that to them, and I'm like, "Okay, so now we know, like, if it's an emergency, you send
eight
me eight
minutes.
minutes. So, like, if it's an emotional emergency." And 2 days later, my daughter needed that 8 minutes. And it wasn't anything horrible. She's pregnant. She has 2 children. I've will be having my sixth grandchild in a couple of months. So she's pregnant. Her car broke down. All those things. When
Wow.
the thing
Yeah, yeah.
happens, then the thing, then the
Accumulate.
thing, then the thing, then the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And on top of that, she's pregnant. So it's like the whole a
Oh God.
tornado came
Oh
through her
no.
for that day, and she was just like, she's crying. And I talked to her and I calmed her, and we just talked for a little bit, and then she's like, "Okay, Mama, I'm good now. I love you. Okay, bye." I hung up. That call was 8 minutes long. I swear it was 8 minutes long, and I was
Oh
like, "There it
shit.
is."
8 minutes. You know what? I
eight
might apply
minutes.
that. I might steal that from you, and I say I got 8 minutes.
Yeah, take it. I stole it from somebody else, so you're welcome to steal it from me.
Oh, I will 100%. And hopefully somebody else, whoever listens to this podcast, please steal it. Take it.
Yes,
It's
do
free.
your
Free
eight
knowledge.
minutes.
Eight
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
That's
Eight
awesome.
minutes. That's all it takes.
What do you recommend? Or not to the first responder or the guys going or the girl going through the problem, to the family members. What
Mm.
advice you will give to those family members, to the wife or the husband or the cousin or the best friend or the roommate, seeing the other guy going through a lot? How do you
Mm.
recommend to approach? Because I got my best friends, but I sometimes it's kind of even hard to approach. Like, hey, bro, you okay? And they say, I'm fine, I'm fine. So what do you advise for that?
I take from what I learned in AA, because in AA you tend to be dealing sometimes with people who are very defiant of um, following the rules or doing things
Oh
differently.
yeah,
It's just who we are as
yeah,
addicts. When we go into it, we're just like, "Don't tell me what to do," even though I have no
yeah,
idea what to do. you know.
yeah.
So the best way is talk about you. When I have
Oh,
a client sitting in front of me and there's certain little flags that I see, but they're not really opening up, I talk about me. I take all the pressure off of them. And I don't mean talk about me like pour my problems out onto them, because that just makes it worse. But say you have a buddy and you know that they recently witnessed something really horrible on the job and they're not really talking about it, but you can see them being a little bit more withdrawn. Um, Finding a situation where you can be alone with them for maybe 5 or 10 minutes and just take a breath and let them know of how you felt the last time something really, really rough happened to you. What feeling, like say we imagine shock is one of the feelings that,
Yeah.
or it's more of a physical response than a feeling, but the shock that comes through, the gut wrenching shift in beliefs that happens in that moment. Um, you know, Finding a story in your own personal life that could possibly relate to them and just talking about it and asking them, how do you feel? When we're vulnerable with other people, it creates a doorway, an open doorway for them to be vulnerable back. They may take it, they may not. Either way, what you said, they were listening. They were
Yeah.
absolutely listening. Even if they decide not to share about themselves, you still made a difference just by
Yeah.
engaging in that conversation and talking on a level of feelings rather than actions, like what happened. Everybody knows what happened. The person especially involved knows what happened. We want to talk about the feelings connected to it. I see this come up a lot too with a lot of conversations that will happen about something that's awful that's happened in somebody's life. Maybe they're going through a divorce or something of that sort, and they're constantly talking over and over again about what happened, what happened. He said this, he did that, she said this, she did
Oh,
that. And it's like, okay, we've all heard it already. Guiding them into how did that make you feel? What was the feeling you had when that was happening? Guiding people into their feelings, because what happens when we're talking about the actions is we're all up here, which we're taught to be up here from the
yeah.
moment we go to school onward, if not
Until,
earlier,
yeah,
all up in the head,
100%.
not in the body at all. And so when you start saying, well, how did that make you feel? You drop them into their body. And when they drop into their body, that's when the healing part can start to happen. While we're stuck up in our head, the healing never happens. We just continue ruminating over it over and over and over again. And so it goes from there's a big difference between like somebody like me. I've told my story about, what I've gone through a
Yeah.
million times. And it's not this ruminating because I've already processed through the feelings of it. So I tell it like it's a regular story. Some people are like, oh my
Yeah.
God, you went through that. And I'm telling it like I'm, just talking about the weather because I've gone through the process of the feelings. So when somebody's saying something over and over again and you can feel that there's like this stuck anger or sadness in there, ask them about that. How did that make you feel? And genuinely be interested and actually listen to.
Yes. That's really important. It's just
Yeah.
just pay attention.
Little
Yeah.
part that's important there.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Whoever listened to us in that moment, please just listen to them, who or her, whatever, whoever's saying, just pay attention so a little bit. It's been wonderful talking to you. To be honest, I wasn't expecting going this way, the conversation, and I love it. I do love it. I was expecting something else and came out a different way, which
Oh yeah,
which
we
I
didn't
love it
hardly even talk about kink.
at all, at all.
See, this is how it all comes back to.
I know. There you go. So I got a good question though. If people want to talk to you, people want to reach out to you and say, "Hey, I think she's pretty good. I might able to at least call her to see how I can do." Uh, do you? I know you have a business. Can you tell us how you contact you, where you are, what's your business about, and
Yeah,
how you can start the healing for people? Maybe in Florida, I guess.
absolutely. Absolutely. So the best way to get in contact with me is go to my website and pick the way you want to contact me. My website is myname.com. So not actually myname.com, it's cassandrahope.com. And just remember that Cassandra has one S and a U. So it's Casaundra. So
Yes.
cassandrahope.com has my phone number, my email, my Facebook, my Instagram, my YouTube, all of that stuff on there. So pick your way of connecting with
Going to
me.
connect to you.
And my sessions, I take them, the type of work that I do, I meet you where you are and we go down the path that you decide for yourself. If you want to come and just learn how to be a dominant, I'm going to teach you how to put your partner on the cross and flog them and whip them, and how to do it safely. And, if you want to learn more about being deeply connected with your partners, I say partners for those who are single, sometimes we don't always just have
Yeah,
one
yeah,
partner. Um,
yes.
uh, I say those of us. I'm not single. I'm married. Um,
Me too.
so so those of them that are single, but
Yeah.
I take you on the path that's best suited for you. Whether you're single or in a relationship, I think that all single men should definitely come and see a sexologist or tantra practitioner before they go back out into the dating world. Really
Oh,
expands you and helps you learn about your potential partners a lot faster, because you learn about who you are. And when we genuinely know who we are and we're deeply connected with ourselves, with what all the parts of us inside, the inner child inside of us, the wise older man or woman inside of us. There's our inner saboteur. There's our inner rebellious parts of ourselves that comes usually from the inner teenager. Like, there's all sorts of different parts of ourselves, and when we get to know all of those parts of ourselves, which is part of the aspect method, that inner aspect method that I use, when we get to know all of them, then it's easy to know exactly who our great partner is, because they're going to be the ones that complement each part of us equally. Getting to know those parts of ourselves, all of the different energy centers within ourselves, both our yin and our yang sides. I don't like to use masculine and feminine anymore because it gets so discombobulated
oh my
with
God.
gender. There's too much
Yeah,
gender stuff. So I
too
use
much
yin and
going on.
yang. we've got our
Perfect.
yin and yang sides of us that
Perfect.
we need to know.
Perfect.
So as you get to know yourself on a deeper level, you're going to know not only what you want, but also what kind of a person is worthy of relationship with you, and what kind of relationship you're worthy of, and brings you into a more perfect union. So singles, I absolutely love bringing them in, because, hey, before you get into a relationship, get to know yourself. And then couples as well, helping them to create better communication, better connection through the tantric practices, and helping them spice their lives up through different kink practices. I actually have a couple of things going on tomorrow.
Yes.
So can't sign up for that one tomorrow, but in a month, I'll be having another one. I'm doing the inner journey into BDSM. It's an 8-hour workshop that I do here at my studio. I keep it small with only 7 or 8 participants, and I take them through what happens when someone gets triggered. What if you accidentally trigger a deep trauma in someone while you're in a BDSM scene? How to be super safe about it, how to step into role play, how to be the dominant if you're always being the submissive, and vice versa. So all of those intricate parts I go into with that. I do those a couple times a year. And then I have a men's retreat. I'm leading 10 men into deep dives into their sexual psyche within Tantra, within Kink. These are going to be along the topics that we've been discussing here,
Oh
where it's
wow.
yeah, we're going to be spicing you up sexually, but we're going to be doing it by getting to know the inner child in you, by healing the relationship that you had with your
And
father, healing the relationships with your mother, those types of things.
wow, when are the dates so I can put on the description
Yeah,
or
so the
mention?
men's retreat is a 4-day retreat from August 22nd to the 25th. That one I'm going to be doing probably about once a year. And then I have, which you can find on my website, all of
Hmm.
these events. I have them on there as well. I have my journey into BDSM that I do every couple of months or so, and that's also on my website. Yeah, you can get all this stuff on my website. I put everything on there.
Perfect. Good.
My
Perfect.
blog and
Hopefully,
all of it.
wow, that's really interesting actually. For the single guys, I didn't thought about it. It's true. You first have to know yourself better as to find what you need to be complement. And I think regardless what you like, I really
Yeah.
don't care. It's just to find the right partner for you.
And men are jumping at this. Men want to learn better. And I say men only because, yes, women, we've we're much more comfortable with the healing journey and talking
Yes.
about our
Not
feelings.
us.
Not all
No.
women, but more so women are than men. But men who don't know this stuff, they are just like, yes, please give me all the information. They want to know better. They want to do better. They want to be part of the change that's happening in the relationship dynamics between humans and not be on the sidelines wondering what the fuck just happened as everybody flies right past them. So
It's true.
they're jumping on
It's
it.
awesome. And where are you located? Just
I'm in Royal
curiosity.
Palm Beach, Florida, which is in Palm Beach
Okay.
County.
Okay. Perfect.
So more in South Florida. Yeah.
So hopefully the journey is like what, 2 hours and a half from Orlando, at least where I come from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
about
so it's
2.5
bad.
hours. Yeah, not too bad at all. Not bad at all.
That's awesome. Yeah, I might contact you later for something else.
That'd be great.
No, for real. Is I think that's why I contact you, Andrea. In that case, like, I mean, I'm curious about it. Like, why not? I mean, I came from Venezuela, South America, which you know how it is. The culture is men, and we don't talk about anything. You just go to work. That's it. So it's been for me an opening a lot of the things that I've been doing since I got to the States in 2007. I've been here like 18 years already. That's why I got the sexy accent. So
I love it.
yeah. So and the chance that I have to travel around the world too, because I've been in Poland, Spain, England, Italy, and different cultures, and it's something that I see that, especially in the fire service, that we don't talk about. We don't even acknowledge. You just go to work, come back, see the family, see the wife, and done. And having these conversations actually to myself. So I've been right now, it's just myself. It been allowing me to actually see a different world, different sides, and that's why I'm getting to the peer support team. That's why I get into a lot of things that before I never thought about it. I never thought I would talk about feelings in a podcast. Coming from that wasn't me 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's a really big leap, and look at your adaptability happening
I used
for
to
you.
be
That's
in
awesome.
anger management.
I guess
Back in
just
the day,
another
back
way
10
of
years ago.
knowing that, adaptability is the spice of life and what really keeps us going.
It is. And with that, actually, it's almost an hour. See, time flies.
Oh, yay, perfect. And you
Time
caught me
flies.
at a certain point in my luteal cycle and then my lunar cycle, where I'm like totally jabby. So
Oh, I love it.
I could go for another hour. I'm just like,
for me, it's amazing. But if I were Joe Rogan, I would get 100 million an episode. Let's go 5 hours.
Right.
But no, I'm not Joe Rogan.
Right.
or the other guy, Friedman. Yeah.
Well, this has been really awesome, though, talking with you and getting to know you better. You talked a little bit about the work that you do when we were chatting prior to the podcast. So I'm glad that I could be on this.
When I was in Poland, that was funny.
Yeah. You were in the airport.
I was in the airport getting some Wi-Fi and like, hopefully it works. And then I'm going back and forth, and they got people talking to me in Polish. So you have to move in the line. Like, oh shit, all right, let's make it happen. But that's life. Yeah. I like to be busy. I like to do stuff like that, random stuff. It's beautiful. Life is too beautiful to be boring. To just stay one still. I can't be still. I can't.
Absolutely.
People that knows me say like, this dude is crazy. I do everything and more, I guess. But that's life.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being in the podcast. I really appreciate it. I'm hopefully to get a second part or a third part or fourth part, or maybe do it in person next time. It'll be great.
That would be awesome. We could do it at my studio, maybe.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, really. I could grab my camera, grab like a little bit, like a YouTube video, documentary style, and then start a podcast. That would be great.
We can do some of it in the kink room, some of it in the tantra room, and some of it in the teaching room.
Sweet. Yes. I'm pretty sure that some of the guys will come with me. Some of the guys, my friends, hey, bro, can I go? Hold the camera.
Let's have a crowd. Sure.
Yeah, I'm curious. That's what they say. Like, a lot of the guys, a lot of my friends that says, oh, bro, yeah, I'm looking to the episode. That was great. Oh, yeah, you look at it? No, I'm my wife. So you guys see them trying to see the episodes and stuff like that I talk non-fire related stuff. And they're like, they're trying to hide because they're curious about it. It's true. So true. It's funny.
Yeah, of course. It's a natural curiosity.
So before we leave, where people can find you again? or the website?
Yeah, finding me on my website at
Mhm.
cassandrahope.com, CASAUNDRAHOPE, cassandrahope.com. And all my handles on Instagram, on YouTube, all those is all Cassandra Hope.
Perfect.
Thankfully, it's a unique name.
Yes, it is. It is. The spelling is got me on guard one time. Oh shit, it's not double S.
Yeah, I got to get all the handles across the board because of that. So yay.
Yeah, perfect. Another thing, just a little quick tip. What you will give people who are not open to the sexuality, they're not open to talk about themselves. A little tip
Hmm.
from you. Hey, what do you recommend?
Mm. I would recommend that that person, next time that they're in the bathroom in front of the mirror, get a little bit closer to the mirror, a little closer than you normally are, and look yourself in the eyes. And just notice those eyes that are looking back at you. Because our eyes are the same eyes that we've had ever since we were born. These
Yeah,
eyes have seen everything that's happened in our waking life. And they are our window to the soul, to the brain, to everywhere. So just look yourselves in the eyes and ask yourself, what are you afraid of? That's it.
perfect. That's awesome. Thank you so much. That was actually nice. Nice
Hmm.
ending. And one more thing. Who do you recommend to come to the podcast and talk about
Mm.
whatever you think? You can throw
My
some names and I'll find
yeah,
them.
my girlfriend Heather Hundhausen.
Heather Hunthausen.
Heather
Okay.
Hundhausen. Yes.
Yeah, if you
Definitely
send
find
me the
her.
text, if you
I'll
send me
send
the
you a
text or
text with
whatever,
her. She'd be fun to have
yeah.
on here. She was actually my life coach when I
Oh,
was about 2 years sober, and her life coaching helped launch me into some thinking that I never would have had without her, and really pushed me forward in life. So I think that she'd be a great person to have on here.
awesome. That's yeah. I will. If you send me the contact, I will find my way to bring into a
Absolutely.
podcast, and maybe we can do another episode with her and you and me, just talking, the three of us.
Yay! Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And again, Cassandra, thank you
Oh, it went
again
frozen.
for your time. Thank you again for doing your work. I think
Mhm.
is a thankful job that you do because people doesn't realize it, but you helping a lot just by talking about it.
Oh,
Just be yourself. It's true. It's true.
yeah.
And
Thank you.
for
Thank you so
those
much for having me on here.
anytime, and I'll put all your stuff in the description so people can follow
Awesome.
you. And yeah, and whatever project you got, you are more than welcome to come back to the podcast and people to listen to the podcast. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Please subscribe. So you can help the YouTube channel or whatever I'm doing to grow. Because the more people, to me, the more better. So, and if you want to do a podcast, I'm going to help you to start one again. I don't mind.
All
I don't mind.
right. I might have to retire that one for a little bit.
Yeah, the more the better, or something
Yeah.
like that, or little clips. I don't mind. I don't care. Like I said, but thank you so much, Cassandra, and people listen to me. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.